Welcome, everyone, to the third episode of our CV Weekly podcast. We have another great show lined up for you today. We have Emmy Award-winning writer, director, producer Rich Henrich, and we also have Johnny Dowers, also known as Johnny Americana, comedian and singer. We also have Chief Meteorologist Patrick Evans with us. And then we have Josiah Gonzalez, and he's part of the band Avenida, as well as co-owner of Little Street Music Hall in Indio. And then we will have a performance by Derek Jordan Gregg. We are going to have some fun today, that is for sure. We are here with actor, singer, writer, Johnny Dowers, also known as sit-down comedian Johnny Americana. He's going to explain that to us in a little bit. And we're also here with my brother, who is an Emmy Award-winning screenwriter, director, producer, CV Weekly writer, and now he is going to be our Nashville Bureau chief for CV Weekly.
Woo, woo.
He's going to be bringing us spots here and there, live interviews with different Nashville artists, and just happenings in Nashville. So it's going to be very cool. Yeah. So the first thing we're going to do is Johnny Americana has a message for us today.
I do.
Yeah.
You know, y'all, it's a crazy world out there right now. Our leaders are group chatting about war plans like frat brothers planning a kegger. People that look like me aren't necessarily Trumpers. It's nuttier than squirrel shit. In times like these, you just gotta hold on to what you know is real and what you believe. And what I know is Jesus is my co-pilot. He's my engineer. He's my conductor. I'm a pioneer, walking for my Lord. Mostly I'm walking for my Lord because gas is $4.89 a gallon. I don't need a white Bronco, don't need a Cadillac. All I need is my Jesus. He's my full tank of gas. I'm walking for my Lord. You know, as I said, it's a tough time out there in America. And we're making comedy great again. Johnny Americana is bringing you a PSA, a public Southern announcement. What I'm telling you is, it's my 2-year anniversary. I just got my 2-year chip. That's right. And when producer Rich handed me my beautiful bronze coin, my 2-year chip, I said, Rich, I didn't know I was practicing sobriety. He said, no, Johnny, it's sexual sobriety. I said, producer Rich, I didn't know I was practicing sex sobriety, let alone for 2 years. When you hear something like that, you got to take matters in your own hands. Jesus is my co-pilot. He's my engineer. He's my conductor. I'm just a pioneer, walking for my Lord. And you say, Johnny, take matters in your own hands. Yeah, I do mean that. But I also mean it's 2025. And crowdfunding is all the rage. So I started a GoFundMe page. That's right, the GoFundMe page is multifaceted and tariff-free. There's some drop-down menus, if you will. There's a menu, say you're a young woman out there, emphasis on young, and you'd like to say, hey, Johnny Americana, I got a nice toolbox you can lay your hammer in, which is code for sexual relations. You can just go right on there and cut through all the red tape and sign up, and I will respond. Because Jesus is my co-pilot. He's my engineer. This is a really quality concept you need to put your money into. He's my conductor. So many problems out in the world, but my GoFundMe page is the most important because I am a pioneer walking for my Lord. There's another drop-down menu on the GoFundMe page. Say you're friends or family of mine and you support me having sex again as much as I do. You can put in a little money, and maybe when I do have sex again, I could do it somewhere exotic like Reno or Florida. Look, there's a lot of things out here in this world that need help. So again, I understand you may not be able to give today. So if you can't accept my invitation to go to my GoFundMe page, please accept my invitation to go fuck yourself. Jesus is my co-pilot. He's our engineer, the architect of our faith. We're just little pioneers. Please give money if you can today. I'd like to have sex again, yeah. Jesus es mi copiloto. It's also a bilingual show. Jesus es mi fortaleza, which is also a great tequila. Silver or reposado. I'm walking for my Lord. If you work for Fortaleza Tequila and you'd like to sponsor our show, you retry it out to Johnny Americana or go to my GoFundMe page, and I will respond. Thank you, and God bless Americana.
All right, we're back with Johnny Americana. That was a great performance. I love that. You're our first comedian that we've had on here. And I know when we were talking earlier and I said stand up and you said that.
Well, I like to sit down. So, you know, it's a different form of stand up. But
Yeah.
when I can sit down, I'm not the youngest, guy. I like to take advantage of that. But
I
I
love
can
that.
stand up and do it.
Sit down comedy, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's very kind of you. Man, I'm honored to be your first comedian. It's an important message that I'm bringing to the country. It's a PSA.
Yeah.
It's a public Southern announcement, and
Exactly.
yeah, we're after a good cause here. So,
Tell us a little bit about some of the other things that you've done and that you're currently doing.
I've been very, very fortunate. My name's Johnny Dowers. I'm an actor and a musician. I was a Nashville songwriter musician before I went full crazy and got cast in a DreamWorks movie in Nashville. Moved to LA, moved to Burbank 25 years ago. And
Okay.
yeah, most people would know me from the FX series The Bridge, where I played Detective Tim Cooper. I played Charlie's pimp on Anger Management for a couple episodes, and I've been blessed to work on The Middle and Good Christian Bells and some features and commercials for
Wow.
years. Been very fortunate as an actor, and I've written a couple of movies that have been made as a screenwriter, and I've written for TV and a little bit of everything. And I did stand up years ago with a comedy partner, a duet, the Johnsons, and we made a movie called Pickin' and Grinnin' that we wrote and were the lead actors. There was comedy and music involved. That's how I
fun.
met Rich, and I sought him out as we were shooting the movie in a 1975 Winnebago, going across Route 66 with no money, and sought Rich out as one of the festival owners from the Albuquerque Film Festival at the time. We wanted to play the festivals where we shot the movie. And we talked, and we had friends in common, and he was cool enough to meet with me and kind enough to hear my little pitch then, and he's still hearing pitches from me now. And I know that you, Tracy, were one of the first people to fully support him and AMF him when he ran the festival
Absolutely.
out here in the desert. So
Yeah.
that matters a lot to me. We've known each other, that's 2010, so 15 years this
Yeah.
summer. And we're doing this new thing together, and I'm very fortunate there. So I came back to comedy. My comedy partner still writes with me, and we do a show that we'll talk about called the Great Americana Road Show. And so my character is Johnny Americana, and he's not too far from Johnny Dowers, but a little bit of a different version. And I host the show, and that's why the comedy I'm going
Yeah.
is Johnny Americana, bringing my message to the world.
Very cool.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we really appreciate having you on.
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
very cool.
Thank you.
And then, Rich, you and I go way back, of course. And so I think we first met through AMFM Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, CV Weekly was, I think, maybe a year old then, or just not quite a year.
Yeah, because we came out in 2012.
Yeah. And as I was telling Johnny on the way over here, you guys were so wonderful when I came out to the desert to do a different concept festival of art, music, film, and more. It wasn't easy to get media coverage, And
Yeah.
CV Weekly embraced us wholeheartedly, and
Yes,
of course
we
we were
did.
able to do a lot of great things with the Boys and Girls Club, and doing things with David Zayas, and of course
Yeah.
Viggo Mortensen, and then working with
Asner.
Ed Asner, which
I remember.
he told
Yeah.
Johnny he had a lot of talent after he heckled him on stage.
That's
It was,
right.
It was great fun.
One of my favorite moments ever. Yeah, thanks to Rich. That's right.
Yeah, and then we had, of course, Edward James Olmos, in other years. So, I've always appreciated, what the CV Weekly means to local artists and to people in this community that are doing great things. And you've always, covered those stories and reached back into community and help, whether it's, helping people with, homeless shelters, or helping people, in food pantries, or just helping people in need, just across the desert. I think you and Phil and all the whole staff at CV Weekly have always just been so wonderful to have huge hearts and big
Aw.
hearts for community, but more than anything, creating a home and a platform for local musicians and local artists.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate those kind words very much. And you started writing for us, and right around that same time, I think a little bit after AMFM Fest, and you still write for us as well.
Yeah, I do.
And so now you are the bureau chief for our CV Weekly Nashville Bureau. And Rich is going to be bringing us spots where he interviews different Nashville artists and tells us what's going on in Nashville and around. And so we're really excited to have that, extension of CV Weekly in Nashville. So
Well, I'm
thank you.
honored to be the Nashville bureau chief for CV Weekly. I think that there's an interesting pipeline that goes on between Nashville and, of course, because we have Stagecoach here, but we're such an important gateway to music lovers throughout Southern California. and
Exactly.
Regionally, because what Stagecoach has grown to mean, in particular just for country music, but also that leans into some of the things we're doing more on the Americana side, or this year we saw, everybody from Jelly Roll to Creed. Of course, there are some 90s pop bands too that are, I don't quite understand that, but all right, we'll let that go.
Neither do
But
I.
it'll be exciting. One of my favorite things to do is to be able to interview bands, in particular, some of the bands that are up and coming, like the undercard ticket bands
Right.
on Coachella were always like some
Give
of my
them that
favorite.
chance,
Give
yeah,
them
tell
that
the boys.
spotlight,
Mhm.
and then to see them, a couple years later winning Grammys and going on to have great careers. And
It's a good
would love to be
feeling.
able to do that, kind of in a similar way, with keeping our ear to the ground and using our network and our resources and all of our friends and contacts in Nashville to kind of put a spotlight on that, and hopefully open up that gateway so we have music flowing freely between the two locations. Vice versa.
Yeah.
So when we have our musicians here, hopefully we can open up doors for them in Nashville as well.
Right, right. And we really appreciate that, because it's going to be very exciting. So you'll just come to us from time to time with different, little spots and interviews. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll give you the the breaking
Mhm.
breaking rumored news from time to
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Whether we can confirm or deny, we don't know yet.
News-ish.
Yeah.
It's news-ish.
News-
It's
Yeah.
it's a
Ish.
little segment that we do called news-ish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now, and so you guys just signed the lease on your office there, which is part of our
Right.
bureau, but it's the Made in America headquarters.
Made in Americana.
Oh, Made in
That's
Americana. Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry about that.
That's all right.
And tell us a little bit about what the two of you are going to be doing together there.
Well, Johnny, we'll share a little bit what we're going to do.
Oh, okay. Well, we are. I have a long history with Nashville and very love Nashville. It's a place. First home I had was in Nashville. My first daughter was born in Nashville, first child, and I lived in Nashville right out of college and went on the road in music and was a songwriter and a musician there. And I love Nashville, and even with the changes that have come in the music space and in Nashville, and the changes that every city and things go through, Music Row carries such authenticity with it and such a great history of that real estate.
Yeah.
Matters so much to me. I wrote songs in some of those early publishing houses on Music
Yeah.
Row that we used to love to go into. And through a good friend of Rich's and Made in Americana, we were able to get an office on Music Row with you guys' help too. They're in a beautiful old publishing house with a really famous recording studio, The Parlor, right there, right out
so
our
cool.
door. So we're going to be able to do the Made Americana podcast and the Great Americana Road Show. We'll be doing a show, a travel. Anthony Bourdain meets Jackass, as we like to say, as kind of just an idea of this docuseries that we do, traveling, music, food, fun, sports, country music. You know, we've done college football games all the way to the National Taxidermy Championship and the opening weekend of polo in India. So we're going to cover all the back roads of the country, a quilt of Americana, or a gumbo, if you will.
Nice.
And cover all those things, and me being an idiot doing what you saw earlier, doing stand-up or doing music or both wherever we are, and spotlight on some songwriters and things of that. But yeah, we have multiple IPs and intellectual properties and shows that we've created over the years. Rich and I have been working together since 2010, and we're finally raised enough seed money to get that going and to start doing multiple different ideas of shows that we have out of Nashville and coming back home for me, which means a lot.
Very cool.
Can we talk about our phone call from earlier today?
Sure. I mean, yeah, we're in the process, obviously of thankfully through the years of our partnership and on our own individual journeys, we have people who are, it's never fun to raise money. We have people who are willing to put up money. They know it's a good cause. We have our own established track record. So we've been talking to folks, not just for raising money, but to get advice. I think that if you're not beginning something at any stage in your life, or if you're not listening to everybody, then you think you know too much. You can always learn something. And we've been talking to folks about what we're doing that we trust on the inner circle. We're probably 10 months to 12 months from full content being out. So we're in the prep stages of getting the editing suite set up and the camera package and content. But we had a phone call from my dear friends who's helping us with music, Ryan Murphy with an E, not American Horror Story Ryan Murphy, which we hope to work with too. But Ryan Murphy's a great picker and musician. His dad is Michael Martin Murphy, one of my heroes, songwriting and artist heroes. And we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Wildfire, being released July 5th, 50 years ago, as a big crossover pop country hit. And Michael Martin called us to congratulate us on getting going, and he and Ryan are on the road, and we're trying to visit them. They do a residency every year in Red River, New Mexico, and Rich is loves New Mexico, lived in Santa Fe, so we're hoping to go out there and visit those guys and then go be at the 50th anniversary of Wildfire and film. And Michael Martin was saying, I love what you guys are doing, how can I help, who can I put you in touch with, and do you guys want to come to the 100th anniversary of Route 66 in November in Tulsa with their new song on his new record, which is amazing, Route 66 Blues, which is the main song, and he's on the board for Route 66. And so all those things that we started 15 years ago when I met him shooting a movie on Route 66 are all coming full circle, which is great to what we're doing. And just before we came in here, we're on the phone with Michael, invited us to Red River and to those things.
Very cool.
And so we're very excited about the things that we're getting ready to shoot and put together.
Very cool. And what else are you working on currently? Because I know you do a lot of movies, films, and then for a while you were doing some other film festivals as well. And
so I mean, I still consult a little bit for the Durango Film Festival in Colorado, but I've kind of pulled back from some of that post-pandemic. Really, the pandemic kind of shifted a lot of things different directions. But I'm just finishing a script right now called The Baseball Artist, based on the true story of Scott Christopher, who was an artist who was also at AMFM Fest. He unveiled his photo of Michael Jackson, and then his whole backstory was he was a pro baseball player for the Baltimore Orioles. Lost his hand as a kid in a tragic sort of accident, falling on a glass bottle at a baseball field, and had to kind of fight to get his hand put back on and then learn how to use it again, and then always had this dream of becoming not just a professional ball player but a Baltimore Oriole. And so it's about his inspirational life story of what he overcame, and a very creative, passionate story that it'll be. So very excited about that. Johnny will also be playing one of the characters in there, kind of a very instrumental coach in Scott Christopher's life on that.
Okay.
And then I'm working with one of our clients through my marketing company, Rook Digital. We have a client in Jimmy Yeary, who's a big songwriter for Sony.
Yes.
Currently has a #1 hit that came out with Drew Baldridge, first independent country artist to take a song #1. And so, we're doing some content with Jimmy as well, and our worlds will kind of soon be intertwined. So it's basically like leveraging, whether it's Michael Martin Murphey or it's Jimmy or some of the other people that we know in country and the world that we know from film and television. It's what I probably was always setting out to do with AM/FM Fest, which is getting good people that are creative in a room and sharing our hearts and sharing our stories and entertaining people.
Yeah. And we just heard the Drew Baldridge song earlier on the Country Countdown.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And I know Jimmy Uri has written a lot of songs for a lot of our favorite country artists.
Yeah.
Then I believe Zach Top as well.
Well, Zach and Jimmy were on a label when Zach was doing bluegrass, and so we shot that music video.
Also, sorry, but if I don't say this, my 24-year-old daughter, Caroline, her favorite artist, Zach Top. So we'll drop in, Caroline.
Okay.
Love you, babe.
Yeah, and so when we shot the music video out here for Jimmy, with the help of Lisa Lynn Morgan, really helped us find some great locations up in the high desert.
Up in the high desert, yeah, I remember that.
And so they were on a label together, and so just a lot of good folks. I think Johnny mentioned like what we're trying to do is it's a quilt work or a gumbo, giving some throwback to his Louisiana roots. Just bringing good ingredients together where we can share in the goodness of our shared culture, our shared experiences.
Yeah, and you've always
pulling our
been
neighbors
doing
in,
that, which is very cool.
and finding that common ground.
And we both, there's a lot of what we feel, not to get on too much of a soapbox, but what we feel we're losing in America. My band, the Sawdust Brothers, which Ryan Murphy is in, and we've been blessed to work with a lot of great people. When we did that music, it's because that kind of music, that Americana music, is really dying away unless we share it with our kids or unless we share it with people. It's not getting the airplay, and now thankfully there's a revival happening. But 10 years ago when we did the Sawdust Brothers, there wasn't. We were trying, but that's kind of what we're doing too. Our shared experience, like Rich is saying, that we love, and those things that make up this quilt of Americana.
Yeah.
A lot of those things, if we don't shine a light on them, they're going away. These backroads places of the country that you don't always see, and that's what we go to and visit on the show. And yeah, it's funny, and there's comedy, and we poke fun at a lot of things, but there's also a real meaningful thing of visiting these mom and pop businesses that have gone away, or people that are struggling, that are the fabric of America, that we become consumers and not craftsmen. So let's celebrate the craftsmen, the artists that are still here, still making good things in America, and still songwriter communities that are the last craftsmen in some ways, if you will. Let's celebrate that,
Yeah. And then, so you are going to be splitting your time between Nashville and still Phoenix or San Jose?
I'll be splitting time between Nashville and, let's just say, Southwest primarily. So
I have all over, a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah, I still have a lot
going on.
a lot of business going on in San Diego and obviously here, as well as Phoenix and the New Mexico market and Colorado, Utah. So I'm on planes quite a bit, but
I know.
It's nice when you can come in and be able to have time and space together. That's one thing that Johnny and I have recognized over the years, is that when you have dedicated time together, you can make things happen that sometimes the road to hell gets paved with great intentions, and you're not in the same room together, and we riff on ideas, and then we go our separate ways, and then we don't have that time to follow up. So it's a big part of going into Nashville and saying, hey, this is the town we want to be in. Here's where we can create our content. Here's where we have a lot of great resources. And as I said, as long as I'm 30 minutes from an airport, I'm good.
Yeah. And then you also, with your business partner Phil, own Rook SEO and Digital.
Rook Digital, correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Which we specialize in SEO, which is search engine optimization. It's like, how does Google find you, and then e-commerce, and we've worked with Hulu and A24 and 20th Century. We worked with Broken Lizard. To you guys, we've helped with
built
other
our
outlets.
Website. Getting ready to do some
good
SEO
clients
stuff
at
with us as well.
Down in San Diego with the Coast News. We work with Echelon Front. Very storied Marines like Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, and everything in between, from dentists to, you know, tree trimmers in Nebraska.
Yeah.
You know, so we just really have a heart and a passion to help our small businesses from coast to coast. And
Yeah.
part of, you know, the Nashville stuff too is also reaching in to help some of these young artists that are coming up, to make sure that they're set up in a way that really they can grow their platforms and have a little bit more ownership of their careers.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very important. Well, I really appreciate both of you coming in today, because I know how busy you both are, and so we appreciate you taking the time with us. How can people find you if they want to reach out to you for anything? I mean, for, you know, the SEO, digital, or
Well, you can always, yeah, you can always go to ROOK digital.com. You know, you can find me there at rich@rookdigital.com. Always happy to help and give people free advice and take a look, see how we can help. You know, we will be launching some of our official stuff within the Great Americana Roadshow. But Johnny Americana, the alter ego of Johnny Dowers, has his social media set up. As,
Yeah, you can get me at Johnny Dowers on Instagram, or I'm at the Johnny Americana on TikTok and Instagram. Mostly on TikTok,
Okay.
just to stalk my adult children, but also to promote comedy.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks to Phil as well for holding it down and making us look great and sound great. We really appreciate Phil, and thank you, Tracy, for having us.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be right back. Our episode sponsor today is Kitty Pig non-alcoholic craft beer. It is PIT approved and is also all head bang, no hangover. These are really tasty, folks. Our next guest is Chief Meteorologist Patrick Evans. Welcome, Patrick.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, you know, it's kind of crazy because I'm used to being in your chair and you're used to being in mine. So this is fun.
Little role reversal for me.
Yeah,
I'm not used to being the guest.
A little nervous because, you know, I've been on the other side and you interviewing us for different events that we've done, you know, so this is, yeah, it's fun.
Well, it's kind of fun because now I can just relax.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Whole difference. How long have you been with KESQ doing the weather?
23 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I
maybe
didn't realize
23.
it was that long.
So I started at CBS in 2002 when we launched. And of
Mhm.
course, we were purchased by KESQ
Right.
somewhere along the way. But in total, I've been here in the Valley for 23 years
Yeah.
doing weather.
Okay. And then you started doing Eye on the Desert, which is the show we're talking about that, you know, we've been on.
Yeah, when
And-
we first started CBS, Eye on the Desert was a standalone show, half an hour, and we had Eric Sandoval as our host.
Yeah.
And then he got moved to Maine. You know, we were a brand new station. They were in the first couple of years, we moved people around a lot, and I was very
Right.
lucky to just kind of hang on and,
Yeah,
and survive
exactly.
the. But then eventually, so I've been hosting Eye off and on for almost 20 years.
Oh, I didn't know that had been on that long either.
Yeah, we launched that the same time we launched CBS. We had, we've had, because I would take breaks, my schedule would change. At one point, Gino Lamont was host of Eye in the Desert.
Yeah, I
and he was,
remember Gino.
after he'd been away from TV for a while, he came back and he
Right.
did, and so he was there. Scott Hennessy, who was our sports guy, but he also did Eye in the Desert for a while. Now he's the anchor man at our TV station in Santa Barbara. So
Okay.
everybody's done okay. I mean, Gino's doing great
Yeah.
with the Firebirds, and I'm
Right,
still
yeah.
here doing Eye in the Desert, so it works out.
That's so cool. And it's a little bit of a different jump from being a meteorologist to being a host and, you know, interviewing people on an entertainment show.
I've always been very lucky because throughout my television career, I've always, first and foremost, I'm a meteorologist and a weather guy. That was
Yeah.
my field of study. I did the degree in environmental science. But like you, I've always been a people person, and I've been lucky to live in some places where there's great entertainment.
Yeah.
There are really good stories to tell, like you guys do with CV Weekly. I mean, there's so many great stories to tell
Yeah.
in the community, and that's what I love about And I think it's really important to be engaged in that way.
And how do you pick the guests that are coming on?
We obviously we're an arts and entertainment program, but we also lean heavily into philanthropy. So we try to support events that are raising funds. We have 600 plus 501c3s out here.
Oh yeah, a lot.
And so there's always a need. There are organizations that we all know about, and they have big events, and we like to publicize those. But there are also organizations that don't get a lot of press time or airplay.
Yeah.
And I like to find those organizations and help them tell their story and because they fill a niche, and it's important.
Yeah, exactly. And so, who have you interviewed that you were the most awestruck?
Oh,
Because I know you've interviewed a lot of big entertainers. And stuff.
And we have such a variety of people who had big careers, and then they may scale back and retire to the Coachella Valley, or
right.
And of course, we do the film festival show, so we get some of the really A-list stars there as well. And I could rattle off interviewing George Clooney and Tom Hanks is probably one of my favorite interviews. And those big stars that come through, but they only come through once a year for the film festival.
Yeah.
For Eye on the Desert, I've been some of the really hallmark interviews that I've done. I still pinch myself because I've gotten to know Lucy Arnaz a little bit over the years. And
right.
when she first came on the show, that was a big deal. And her husband, Larry Luckabill, who is a great actor and a great writer. Tony Curtis was in the Valley. And I know for a fact it was the last live interview that Tony Curtis ever did. And he did it on Eye on the Desert.
Wow.
Which was, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
There were all kinds, we just live in this really incredible valley.
Oh, we do. Yeah.
And so
we're surrounded by so much. Yeah.
One of my favorite people to interview, because she's so fun and so bubbly and so recognizable, is Joyce Bulifant. She did so many great TV shows over the years.
Oh yeah.
And she's so involved in Tools for Tomorrow and a couple of other charities, and so she's on. But those are the kinds of. But the film festival interviews always give us some buzz to talk about.
Yeah. Well, those are some real heavy hitters. George Clooney and Tom Hanks and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
and
cool.
This year we had the cast from the Wizard of Oz movie, which all of a sudden I can't think of. Wicked. Thank you. Yes, we had the cast of Wicked.
As I said that, I'm like, am I saying the right movie?
Yeah. I was like, what is it? And that was just amazing because it's such a great movie, and they were here and they were delightful. Just so many really cool stars come to that event. So
yeah, that's cool. And so, are you involved in community events as well, or any of the charities here in the Valley?
Yeah, of course, I get if they need an MC, I always am available for that, and I get asked to do that quite a bit. And I do, MCing and charity work, like serving as an auctioneer if they need that. Over the years, the last several years, I've been donating dinners to local charities where I go in and cook a 5-course Italian meal in your home.
Oh, that's cool.
And I've helped various charities raise about $100,000.
Oh, nice.
Through auctioning off those dinners. And I've done those for Old Town Artisan Studios and for Variety. We've done them for any number of charities. So I did it for the blood bank. So if someone asks, I try to keep those to maybe 4 or 5 of those a year because it's a lot of work to go into someone's home and
exactly.
And we do them for 10 or 12 people at a time. So it's not terrible, but it is a lot of work for an evening.
Well, I know you do enjoy cooking. Yeah.
Love to cook. And that's, I had a sausage company for a while.
Right.
It was sort of a natural outgrowth. People like, oh, you actually would do a dinner. And so we do that. But I also I serve right now on the board of Animal Samaritans and Variety, the children's charity, The Desert, an organization that I dearly love that doesn't get as much publicity as it should. It's called Read With Me, where we recruit seniors, primarily seniors. You don't have to be, but they volunteer and they go to many of our most underprivileged community schools, and they help kids get up to speed in their English reading.
Oh.
And we have seen, graduation rates have increased. We've seen literacy rates dramatically increase. And these are kids who don't get reading support at home,
Oh.
because a lot of times their parents don't speak English or read English well.
Yeah.
So they're not getting that kind of educational support at home. So they get it a little bit at school, but then we provide these after school volunteers.
Yeah.
And so Read With Me, I think, is just a terrific organization. And Sean Webb.
Yeah.
He left the school district and became our executive director. So I love that organization and do a lot of work
Very
with them.
cool. Yeah, I like that. I like having guests on and talking about things like that people might not know about, and give a little bit of, some recognition.
And I
let
think,
people know about those types of charities and groups.
And I served on the board of the YMCA for a long time, 10 years, which really I think is too long. I think you need to, circulate those boards, get some new blood, new thinking.
Yeah.
But when I came to the Valley, I really focused on kids, because I think we have an underserved kid population in the Valley.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize, the majority of the students in the Palm Springs School District live below the poverty level.
Mhm.
So, these are kids that need the support. So
Yeah.
kid charities and animal charities are my two places that I go to. And a lot of people don't know Animal Samaritans is a rescue,
Mhm.
but we also operate 2 full-time veterinary clinics. And,
Oh.
and we're the lowest cost veterinary clinics in the Valley.
Okay.
So we serve a pet population that, and it's really expensive owning pets.
Oh, I
And-
know. Yeah.
And we want to make it easier for people to not just adopt a pet, but
Take care of them.
take care of them
Yeah.
over because that's a lifelong commitment. So
Yeah.
that's a charity that I really love
Yeah.
for the rescue aspect, but also for just the ongoing care.
Right. Yeah. I'm all about the animals. So that's kind of my main focus. Yeah.
And
So
we,
that's
we
cool.
have such an animal problem out here.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
It really is.
And I know that there are groups that are really focused on the high kill rate at our local animal shelter, and that's a really tough nut to crack. But every
Yeah.
animal rescue, and they're loving all animals, and we have some great organizations. We work with all of those, but I do serve on the board of Animal Samaritans.
Yeah. And we always have adopted rescue cats. And our last one that we have now, Draven, we got from Loving All Animals. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell people, go to the shelter and get a rescue, because they need homes, So.
On our newscasts, every Monday at noon, we bring in the Palm Springs Animal Shelter. And they
Mhm.
bring in a pet. On Tuesdays on Eye in the Desert, we bring in Loving All Animals. And on Fridays on our morning show, we bring in Animal Samaritans. So we're
Yeah.
we're bringing in as many pets as we can a week and trying to tell
That's
people this
cool.
pet is available for and when you
Yeah,
put a pet
that's-
on radio or on television, it does really heighten their awareness, and they usually get adopted pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's what we're doing at the end of every episode.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because once people, it's one of those things. If you have to go down to the shelter, you think about it. But when you see a cat or a dog
Uh-huh.
on television, like, man, I'm going to go get that one.
Yeah.
So
Well, how we found Draven is it was in an issue of our CV Weekly, and Janet McAfee, who does our pet column, and the picture was in there, and I'm like, yeah, that's the one I want. So yeah. Well, you also emceed our CV Music Awards
Mhm.
and did a fantastic job for us,
And it
which
was
we really appreciated.
a ton of fun. And what I really loved about that was just, I get a few of our local bands on Eye, and we talk about their performances. Occasionally
Yeah.
we have live performances like you guys are doing here, which I think is super fun.
Yeah.
But it was just fun to have everybody in the room.
Mhm.
And you got to hang out with the bands and the musicians that you know, and some that you don't know. And so it was just a great mix. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we really enjoyed having you there. What type of music do you listen to?
Oh, I'm an old school guy. I'm a Sinatra guy, and
Okay.
I'm one of those Rat Pack,
The classics.
the
yeah.
classics. When I go, there's some other stuff. My wife is a huge '80s music fan, so we just went to Acrisure to see. It was Modern English, and it
Oh
was,
yeah, yeah, and they play with somebody else.
Simple
Simple
Minds.
Minds, yeah.
and also, see, this is what happens when you get me to the day. There were 3 bands, and they
Yeah.
all had like one really big song from the '80s. But it was a great
Yeah,
fun concert.
yeah.
So I like a lot of that stuff. but that's the other great thing about living out here is, with the casinos and the Acrisure Arena,
Yeah,
it's really elevated the music game. I mean,
absolutely. We don't have to drive to LA now or, San Diego, because a lot of that stuff's coming here right in
Yeah.
our backyard. So that's very cool.
So
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff I like, and I love going to the Purple Room and
Mhm.
and seeing Michael Holmes do his thing. So that's
Oh,
always
yeah.
fun.
What would people be the most surprised to know about Patrick Evans?
I don't know. I feel like I don't harbor very many secrets. If you follow me on Facebook, you kind of get
It's all out there for everybody to see.
It's kind of out there. I think people would probably be surprised at how much time I really spend at home with just hanging out with my dogs. 'Cause,
Yeah.
It seems like, and we have so many events, and I do a lot of them, and I go to a number of them, but I really cherish my downtime too, and just kind of
Yeah.
recharging at home with wife, kids, dogs.
Yeah.
It's good. It's kind of good for the
Yeah,
soul.
it's good. Yeah, we feel the same way. We've become homebodies as well. Yeah, just us and Draven.
And you guys were out all the time. I mean, you were,
Yeah, we were. Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
and it's
So-
easy to do here.
Yeah, because there's so much going on.
something every night.
And then we were promoting, all the bands and doing all that stuff. But now it's kind of nice just to stay home and, hanging on the couch.
Yeah, I love it. I love those weekends where I get up on Saturday and I know we don't have anything.
Hmm.
I don't have to shave. That's
Yeah.
the thing I really love.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you have a podcast as well. You and Randy Florence do your podcast at Skip's Little Bar
Yeah,
in Palm Desert.
Big
Tell us
conversations.
a little bit about that.
It's called Big Conversations Little Bar. And Randy and I got to know Randy when he was the head of the Palm Desert Chamber.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of events with them, and we just became pretty good friends. We'd hang out at Skip's and get a burger. And one day Randy said to me, "Have you ever thought about doing a podcast?" I said, "Well, I thought about it, but there's so much about it I don't know."
Right. Yeah.
And I said, the one thing I don't want to do is like go do it at the TV station at the studio. And Skip kind of popped up. He was behind the bar. He goes, "Oh man, I've always wanted to have a podcast, but I don't have time to do it. You guys should do a podcast." And I said, "Well, what if we did it here?" And he said, "That's a great idea. We could do it over there." And we just started and he was our first guest, and he has so many great
Skip's
stories.
Great. Yeah. Oh, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, his years in the music biz, and the founding of Coachella and Stagecoach, and those
Yeah.
early years where they were, he would tell you, they're like, we were losing our asses and we didn't know what we were doing.
Right.
But so it's been a lot of fun. We're really lucky. Ours is a little different than your, and you guys need to come on because we just have conversations with
Oh,
people.
cool. Yeah.
I tell people they're saying, "Who do you get for guests?" And I said, my guests are people that you do know or that you should know in the
I
Coachella
like
Valley.
that. Okay.
The-
I
and-
like that.
And so those are the kinds of guests we like to get. And you guys are people that everybody knows, but you should get to know better.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
So
Yeah.
we'd love to have you on. But yeah, it's been fun. We've been doing it for a couple of years and gotten a little traction, I think, in large part because we've had some really fascinating guests.
Yeah.
Scott White from the Visit Greater Palm Springs was a really fascinating guest. We've had actors. Craig Chester he did the movie Adam and Steve, and they're doing the follow up to
Mhm.
that. We just had John Ratzenberger from Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
He was Cliff.
Yeah.
He lives out here in the valley now, and he came on. We've had a whole host of really interesting guests.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, and then I read something somewhere. I think Phil was telling me that you're the #1 podcast here in the Valley.
Yeah,
We're going to give you a run for your money too.
I know you are. Well, that's what I said. Randy and I saw you you guys are getting ready to start your podcast. I said, "Uh-oh, now we've got real competition."
There's enough room for everybody. Yeah, yeah.
It is it's a wide
we do
space.
different things,
It's a wide space,
Yeah.
and we can support one another. That's what nice
That's
thing
what
about
we always do. Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, I think again because we've been doing it for a while, and some podcasts, you get those true crime podcasts, or and they're really topic specific, and you do 20 episodes, and then you've kind of exhausted the topic.
Yeah.
And here in the Coachella Valley, like I said, my criteria for people, you're never going to run out of the well of potential guests.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's just it goes on and on.
All right, I'm going to turn the tables on you. So, what made you guys decide to do a podcast?
Well, to be honest, so I was kind of mulling it around, and we were thinking about, well, should we stop printing? What should we do? Because after COVID, things changed a lot and all that. And then I read back in March that the San Diego Reader, after 52 years, went online only and stopped printing in mid-February. And I got a little teary, because I love the San Diego Reader, but it did give me the initiative, the push I needed to say, okay, we're going to not print and just be online only. And it's worked out really well for us. And so with that in mind, I thought, let's replace the printed issue, even though we still have the online issue, with the podcast. And that's how it came about.
I think it's a great segue. Print is so tough.
It is, and hardly anybody's printing anymore. So
even the major. A few of our guests. We've had Larry Bohannon on from the Desert Sun, and a couple of other folks, Brian Blue Sky, and we give them a hard time because now they print the paper in Phoenix.
Yeah,
and
I know.
And it's. These guys are local, but it's tough because their parent company invest less and less in the community, and so print is a really tough thing, but you guys are such a great resource, and you have a great staff, and I get a chance to work with Crystal at the TV station.
I know we're so lucky to have her.
She's a terrific talent, and
yes, she is.
But I'm even though you stopped printing, you're an online resource that's really important to the Valley.
Thank you.
And so this is a great addition to that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about it, and we just want to be able to still stay in touch, and we're bringing the music awards back next year.
Good.
So I'm really excited about that. So if anybody would want to come on your podcast or on Eye on the Desert, how do they contact you?
Super easy. Patrick.evans@kesq.com.
Okay.
So if people can email me directly, and with Eye on the Desert, usually if someone sends me a request, I send it right to my producers. They reach out right away. So we try to get people on, especially, if there's an event that's coming up and you're trying to sell tickets and raise money and that sort of thing. We're all about supporting that.
Yeah, I love that. And then for the podcast, they
same. Just email me.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we go, I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Very important questions. First of all, when are you going to come and cook us dinner? And second, when is the wind going to stop?
All right. Number one, we should do that. We should do a dinner.
Yes.
Do a CV Weekly dinner, which would be fun.
Yes, that would be fun.
And we'll get some fun people together to do that.
Yeah.
And most importantly, we'll have to invite our friends who, I know you guys don't drink, but we still need some bottles of wine for the other guests.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we'll lean on some of our restaurant friends to make a donation.
Right.
And the wind. We're June is usually, by the end of May, we start to see those temperatures creep up and they stay at 100 or above.
Right.
And that's the end of the wind. And we won't see it again until October.
Well, we're looking forward to the end of the wind for sure.
Yeah. Well, we've gone from windy to now 110. So, we got to change gears.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Patrick, for taking the time to come in and talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm
You're
delighted.
Always a delight.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And again, it's reciprocal. We want you guys to come on.
We definitely will.
Both and on the podcast. And congratulations on this. We wish you a lot of success.
Thank you so much. Patrick Evans. We'll be right back. Cruisin' Vet Tech. Caleb Marie Cruz, registered vet technician, will come to your home and take care of your pets. Your pets will be in good hands with Caleb. Casuelas Cafe, located in Palm Desert, where tacos are their spirit animal. Our next guest is Josiah Gonzalez. He's 1/3 of the band Avenida, and he is also co-owner of Little Street Music Hall in Indio. Welcome, Josiah.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot going on.
Too much sometimes. Yeah.
So you're wearing a lot of different hats. So let's first start off with Avenida, because haven't seen you in, God, it's been years, but
Yeah.
we go back from,
Yeah.
yeah. So, are you guys still playing together actively? And if so, what kind of gigs are you doing?
Sure. So Avenida does still play. We're not doing as much out in public. We
Mhm.
do primarily weddings and corporate events and paid
Yeah.
gigs now.
Yeah, that's where the money's.
That's where the money's at. So
Exactly.
we gotta because we've got so many projects going. We have to pick and choose where we play. But the guys do a lot of solo work. We probably play as a band maybe once or twice a month during season for just money gigs and whenever we can, we have fun and just jam out. So,
Oh, that's cool. And it's you and your two brothers.
yeah, Vince and Sam, they're the other two owners of the company. So they're founders of Avenida, the band, and then they're also owners of all the other stuff we've got going on.
Oh,
So,
cool. Okay, so you're co-owners as well of Little Street.
Little Street, yeah.
Yeah. So how did that happen? How did that come about, and how long have you been doing
Yeah.
Little Street?
Well, there's like the official timeline and then the unofficial timeline. And so the unofficial timeline is probably starts back in like late 2018. There was some vacant property in downtown. The band was just really starting to play frequently, and we needed, like all bands, a place to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started subleasing a little space there in downtown Indio back when there was nothing. And we put up a stage and some speakers, and we were using it to rehearse, and other bands started to rent it from us. And they needed rehearsal space, and then
Right.
they asked us to do shows, and those shows turned into bigger shows. And we felt like we had some momentum going, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just, you had a big shutdown of everything,
Right.
no people, no in-person stuff. But all that kind of turned us on to the idea that we really needed a music venue, specifically all ages music venue in Indio on the east side of the valley. And so we worked with the city. The city owned a number of buildings on the block there in downtown. And we found a building that just worked really well for what we thought
Yeah.
we could do. And
It's a cool little venue. It really is. Yeah.
I don't know how it just went vacant for so long.
Yeah.
But we set a business plan up, went to the city and petitioned, got really good terms. And so we started that project, the process of discussing that with them in 2021. And it took us about 18 months. So we didn't actually open until halfway through 2023. So we've been open about 2 years now.
Okay.
It'll be 2 years in October. But we've been working on this project really since late 2020. And if you consider the little studio that we had,
Right,
this
beforehand, yeah.
this is 6-7 years in the making now. So
Wow. And everybody I talk to, I mean, there's such a great feeling about Little Street and the people that have performed there and have gone there for shows. So, I mean, it's really getting great feedback,
Yeah.
and I love what they're doing with downtown Indio,
Yeah.
just that whole little community down there. And you guys are a huge part of that.
Hey, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
That is the reason why we started this. I think kind of being in the trenches with all the musicians for 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
helped us become part of the scene in
Right.
a way that
And to know what to offer. And what you
yeah,
wanted
well,
to-
exactly.
yeah.
We said, what would we want at a venue? What are the venues in town not offering?
Right.
We played all the venues, and there's no knock, but if you're not a musician and you own a venue, it's hard for you to really value why a musician would want certain things.
Right, exactly.
Little stuff like a green room or
Yeah.
just little things. And so it's not perfect, but that's really been our vision is how are we going to provide the best experience for the musicians? And we
Mhm.
think that when musicians are given just a really amazing place to play and treated like human beings, that they're going to put on their
Yeah.
best show, and
That's
the
right.
people who show up are gonna really resonate with that.
Yeah, exactly. Did you ever have any idea it was going to be as successful as it
No,
has become?
I mean, I
It
don't even know if
continues
it's
to
successful
grow.
yet. We're still working on
Well,
that part,
yeah,
but
you are though.
but yeah, we always wanted it to be something that the community embraced, but you kind of just throw stuff out there and hope. But we've just seen the local musicians have been really appreciative for the most part. I would say a vast majority of the people that come and play are really respectful, and I think in part because they consider it like their home venue, and they
Yeah.
don't want to screw that up. So they're
Right.
like, "Hey guys, let's respect the venue.
Right.
Let's respect the owners." And in return, we're like, "Cool, you guys can come back. Let's keep doing this."
Yeah.
And so yeah, we've had good experience so far.
What's the capacity in there?
We just finished a set of inspections. We think it's probably going to be in the 200 range.
Oh, okay.
Standing, but the fire department is doing the final steps to scale us up from what it
Okay.
was. So it's just probably going to be that 200 range.
That's pretty
for
good,
standing.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't think it was that much actually. So
Yeah,
that's a nice.
the full
nice,
building's about 6,000 square feet. There's like hidden nooks and crannies
Right.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's a big building. There's a lot of cool room for expansion, but that main hall, the main floor area, that's our goal. Our goal was always to have about between a 200 and 250 cap room.
Yeah.
We felt that was missing. We felt like you can do 0 to 50, 0 to 100 at most of the other venues, and then you have this big jump out to the casinos at like 3,000, and
Yeah.
there's nothing in
In
between.
between. Yeah.
So that's we're
Very
trying to
cool.
supply that.
And do you sell alcohol now?
Yeah. So we have a license that allows us to remain all ages, which was always the goal.
Very important. A lot of younger bands coming up right now. Yeah.
We couldn't, our full band couldn't play at some of the bars when we got started.
I remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, we can do beer and hard seltzer. And
Cool.
we tried to do a nice little mix of some craft stuff, some cool IPAs, and then just popular stuff too. But
Yeah. And you got your whole coffee bar and all that kind of stuff too.
we're doing the whole coffee thing. Grab some cold brews, iced teas.
Yeah.
We do really good lemonade. So yeah, we try to provide stuff.
I think you have some snacks too, don't you?
Yeah. So we're working on really expanding our food options this summer. I think that's the next piece that we need to add. And so we've got a couple options that are in the play. We'll see. There's a couple interesting, ways that we can go with this, but we really want to provide some food that's affordable. If you're, 18, 19, 20 years old, and you don't want to pay like $28 for a sandwich,
Yeah,
it'd be nice to
exactly.
be able to come in and get something for like under 12 or $15. So
Yeah.
that's our goal, is to kind of hit that price point.
Yeah, that's really cool that you have that in mind and are offering that, so
Yeah.
exactly. So how do you choose the bands that perform there?
It's a little bit of natural selection. It's also a little bit of just kind of wait and see. So we try to remain open to what we're willing to bring in. We have a pretty big variety of stuff that we've tried.
Mhm.
Our tenants are basically, hey, if you do the work, if we see that most people email us saying, hey, I'm looking for this date. And if they do the promotion, if they bring a good crowd, if they take the show seriously and we see that they've done their preparation, we try our hardest to work with them to continue doing events. And so we've developed a really good network of promoters at this point.
Mhm.
I can probably shout out like Matt King with Dunes Booking.
Yeah, he's great. We had him on the show as well. Yeah.
Billy with Kick-Ass
Mhm.
Booking, Alex with CB Hardcore over at Hollow Crown, Pedro and Less is More. There's some groups that have just done a really good job of curating shows and being really creative.
Yeah.
So we start there, work with the promoters that do a good job of that. And then we're just now in year 2 starting to get people who are emailing us, hey, I'm on tour coming from Las Vegas, coming from San Diego.
Right.
And so we're trying to fill more of the slots and put together
How
those
cool
shows.
is that, though?
It's blows my mind that
nice
people
little stop on their tour.
no,
Yeah.
that was always the goal, was
Yeah.
going from LA to Vegas or LA to Phoenix. Come check us out. And so we're really starting to get that. And we do want to, we try to curate an environment where people are respectful. And so that is really important to us. But if people show some just basic decency, some basic respect, and if they come out and they do a good job of promoting and bring some bodies in there, we're totally cool with bringing people back and working with them. So
Very
that's
cool.
worked so far.
And do you have comedians at all?
Yeah. So we were
I
Dakota
thought
Miracle.
I heard, because I think we ran something in the paper.
Dakota Miracle, Bitten Tongue. So he's been great. We do comedy probably once a month. We just had Eric Griffin, Workaholics.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that, because he's a
he
big
is.
name. How cool is that?
Dakota's been great, and I think the venue kind of lends itself to comedy. The stage and lighting are already there.
Mhm.
They've got a sound system, and so Dakota's been great to work with. But we want to do more comedy. But we obviously, it's music hall, not comedy hall.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly.
So we try to prioritize the musicians.
Yeah, but it's cool to throw that in
Mhm.
here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get Dakota on the show too.
Yeah, he's a great.
Yeah.
He's just really well connected. He works really hard. He's built a really cool, little business there. So
Mhm. Yeah, I love the way our community works together.
Yeah.
here in the Valley, the music community.
Yeah.
A lot of comradeship,
Yeah.
camaraderie, and it's very cool.
Yeah, I think that's when you talk about any success that we could attribute to the venue has been because the musicians love the space and drag their friends out. And so they've been the backbone of of the support.
Right.
And so that if it wasn't for the music scene, I think that's a niche that we fill that other bars don't, is that I feel like the musicians see this as their venue,
their place,
and
their
so
home,
when they're doing a single release or an album release, or when they're kicking off a tour, they're inviting all their friends to this one. You got to be at Little Street first, and so
that's cool.
That's been great for us.
Yeah. What shows do you have coming up?
Yeah. Let me see here. I'm going to check my July events.
Okay.
We have 2 really cool ones coming up in July that I like to shout out. So Pedro LaBass with Less is More is going to be out pretty much once a month. So take a look at the website. And he's going to be doing some really cool EDM stuff. They do a lot of electronic music. And then we have Noise Pile. They're also going to be bringing out a really cool hardcore and jazz show.
Yeah, tell us more about that, because that's cool.
So apparently they reached out to a lot of their followers and asked, this is what I love about the creative kind of nature of, we wouldn't have thought of this.
Right.
But they just kind of crowdsourced, what do you guys want to see? And they said, hey, we want jazz and we want hardcore on the same bill. And so that's what we're going to have. We're going to have a hardcore band followed by a jazz band, hardcore band, jazz band. And it's cool because it's a really young following. Just, I mean, if this is how you get introduced to some really cool jazz music, or vice versa, if you're a jazz listener and you wouldn't normally go to a hardcore show, these are the kind of things that I don't think any other venues would be willing to try.
You don't see that.
So we're like, well, we'll give it a swing. And so, please show up and let them know that these are the kind of weird swings and kind of unique events that you want to be at. But those 2 I think are kind of must attend for the month of July.
Very cool. Okay. And so how do people reach you?
Sure.
If they want to book Avenida, for like a party or event or corporate gig, whatever.
Yeah.
And then also, how do we find like Little Street? You said you have a website coming out?
Yeah, so the website should be fully launched by the time this comes out. So littlestreetmusic.com. You should be able to check out any frequently asked questions that you have about the venue. It'll have links to booking. If you want to book as a band, if you want to come play, or if you have a couple openers, you want to put together a show as a promoter, booking at littlestreetmusic.com.
Okay.
If you want to hire Avenida, or if you want to rent the venue out, it's info at littlestreetmusic.com. And so those are kind of the 2 separate pieces that we have. But booking,
and all that information is on the screen.
We'll put it up for everybody. But that's the quickest way. Sam, my brother Sam, and Oliver, who runs sound, all the bands probably know him. They take care of a lot of the booking, and then I handle any inquiries related to booking the venue or booking the band. So
very cool. I love that 3 brothers working together. It's very cool.
It's been good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it. And we've got to get out to a show there. We have yet to be at a show there, and I really wanted to make Eric Griffin, but
we're going to be full steam ahead through the summer. Our goal is not to shut down.
Oh, that's cool.
So we'll send out all the events that we have coming up. We'll have plenty of options over the summer for people to do something.
Okay, very cool. All right, Josiah Gonzalez, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
we'll be right back. Coming up, July 11th through the 20th at Palm Canyon Theater in Palm Springs is Falsettos. Love can tell a million stories. Go to their website for more information.
The sun beats hard upon your face, and the words I prepared are now shouted in sharp. Well, I wanted to meet with you, and I long for goodbye, and it's so hard to see you, for now tears have buried my eyes. It goes ooh, and it gets so hard. The show must go on. You only laugh. It's like you don't see a thing. 10,000 ends tear at my insides, one round my neck ring. And you say it's so good to see you. I think I might die. For the love we once shared has changed shape with the passing of time. It goes ooh, and it gets so hard. The show must go on. Ooh, and it gets so hard. The show must go on. Colloquial phrases get through the pain. If you only see me as a friend, you won't see me again. And I turn round to run, and it starts to rain, rain. The ground splits in two, I fall through the cracks to my skin. Now I'm swallowed whole, though it sounds obtuse. I choke on the warmth and your friendship has become the news. It goes ooh, and it gets so hard. The show must go on. Ooh, it's so hard. The show must go on. Ooh.
Thank you so much for joining us again today. And I just want to say thank you to all of our fantastic guests again, Rich Henrich, Johnny Americana, Patrick Evans, Josiah Gonzalez, and Derek Jordan Gregg. And I also want to thank our episode sponsor for today, Kitty Pig, non-alcoholic craft brew, and also Palm Canyon Theater, Cruise and Vet Tech, and Casuelas Cafe. Join us next week and we'll have another great show for you. I also want to give a quick shout out to Phil behind the camera and to Kurt, who puts all this stuff together for us.